It's been a few years since Disney's Frozen burst onto the screen, so we wouldn't blame you if you've let go of some of the finer details of the plot. Fortunately, we've gathered together everything you need to know before heading to the theater for the sequel. Originally conceived as a loose retelling of the Hans Christian Andersen tale The Snow Queen, the initial vision for Frozen looked a lot different than the movie Disney wound up releasing. In the original script, Elsa was an indisputable villain. She and Anna weren't sisters or even royalty, and the story culminated in a climactic battle featuring an army of snow monsters and a devastating avalanche. However, director Chris Buck and writer and eventual co-director Jennifer Lee realized something was missing and decided to make its two central characters sisters instead of strangers.
Do you want to build a snowman?
The final piece of the Frozen puzzle fell into place when songwriters Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez wrote their first song that would make it into the finished film, Let It Go. After hearing the song, Lee and Buck realized they couldn't keep Elsa a villain and rewrote the script in order to make her more of a conflicted co-lead. The final version of the film featured a pair of sisters who loved each other dearly, but were driven apart by Elsa's inability to control her powers. This change also required the filmmakers to reimagine the character of Olaf from a villainous henchman into a lovable, goofy sidekick. Come on, could you even imagine this guy getting up to no good? As evidenced by the original film's twisting path to the screen, Frozen was a collaborative effort between the writers, directors, and songwriters, and wouldn't have come to exist in its current form without any one of those specific people's input. Fortunately, the whole team is returning for the sequel, albeit in slightly altered roles. Chris Buck is back in the co-director's chair, as is Jennifer Lee, who was also named head of Walt Disney Animation Studios in 2018. On the music front, songwriters Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez are returning with 11 original new songs for the soundtrack, and Christoph Beck is coming back to compose the score. The only significant difference in the creative team between Frozen and Frozen 2 is the screenwriters. While the original movie script was penned by co-director Jennifer Lee, she'll share writing duties on the second film with Alison Schroeder, who wrote the screenplay for 2018's heartwarming Christopher Robin. Schroeder was also nominated for an Oscar for her screenplay for 2017's Hidden Figures, making her a strong addition to the Frozen team. Frozen tells the tale of the two daughters of the King and Queen of Arendelle, Elsa, the elder sister, and Anna, the younger one. Although the two were close as children, they drifted apart after their parents taught Elsa that the best way to deal with her magical icy powers was to conceal them from the world and to repress her emotions. As a result, Elsa has isolated herself and only pulls further away when the king and queen are lost at sea. However, as the oldest daughter, it's Elsa's duty to take up the crown. But on the day of her coronation, she loses control of her powers and flees the kingdom. Anna pursues her into the mountains, aided by the ice harvester Kristoff and his trusty reindeer Sven, hoping to convince Elsa to end the sudden winter she's created in Arendelle. Convinced she can't control her powers, Elsa accidentally freezes Anna's heart, a spell that will slowly kill her. Dying and heartbroken, Anna returns to Arendelle, where the sinister Hans is in the midst of maneuvering to take control of the kingdom. But before he can kill Elsa and seize the crown, Anna stops him, and her act of true love in saving her sister thaws her heart. Realizing love is the key to controlling her powers, Elsa ends the magical winter, reconciles with Anna, and takes up her crown as Queen of Arendelle. Although 6 years will have passed for us between Frozen and Frozen 2, according to Disney's head of animation Becky Brzee, the story of Frozen 2 will begin 3 years after the end of the first film. Brzee told The Hollywood Reporter, "It's an evolution and an expansion of the story of Frozen, and many of the questions raised in the first movie become the mysteries that our gang are trying to solve in this film." She added that the main question of Frozen 2 will be, why was Elsa born with her powers?
Your power will only grow. There is beauty in it, but also great danger.
But for anyone worried that Frozen 2's mystery-centered storyline will be a departure from the first film's focus on the relationship between two sisters, you can put your fears to rest. Disney's head of effects, Marlon West, assured THR that the sequel is ultimately, quote, about two sisters trying to stay together while the world tries to tear them apart. That sounds like exactly what we'd hoped for after the emotional, family-driven tale of the first film. Based on the trailers Disney has released for Frozen 2, we can start to piece together some of the plot. In the beginning, all appears to be well in Arendelle, with Queen Elsa ruling peacefully over her subjects from her gently ice-frosted castle. But some sort of malevolent, unseen force, manifesting as pink flames, drives the Arendellians out of their homes. Determined to get to the bottom of what's happened to them and fix it, Anna and Elsa set off on a quest, accompanied by Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf. While the first film focused mostly on Anna, Elsa looks to be the main protagonist of Frozen 2, as she attempts to track down the source of a mysterious voice she hears calling to her. She hopes to discover the source of her powers, and through that knowledge, somehow save her kingdom. The trailers also indicate that an enchanted forest in the far north will prove to be significant to the two sisters, and possibly provide some further clues about the backstory of their parents. In discussing the story for Frozen 2, directors Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee, together with songwriters Kristen Anderson-Lopez and Robert Lopez, realized they still had a few big lingering questions after the events of the first film. So they set about creating a story that would answer them. If the biggest question is indeed, why does Elsa have her powers, then that leads to a logical follow-up. Why doesn't Anna have powers? In digging into answers about the two sisters, it becomes obvious that we really need to know more about their parents, which calls into question the circumstances surrounding their deaths. According to Lee, although the first film implied that the king and queen were headed away on routine business when their ship sank, things may not all be as they appear. During the 2019 D23 Expo, Lee teased the question, where were their parents really going when that ship went down? We've been promised that the answers to all these questions and more will be revealed in Frozen 2. Although audiences were introduced briefly to King Agnar and Queen Iduna at the beginning of Frozen, they died very early on in the film's narrative, and we learned almost nothing about them. At least nothing beyond their instructions to Elsa.
Conceal it.
Don't feel it.
Agnar and Iduna weren't given names in the first film and had hardly any lines. For their all-too-short presence, the Queen was voiced by co-director Jennifer Lee, with veteran voice actor Maurice LaMarche as the King. For their expanded roles in Frozen 2, however, the royal couple will be voiced by Alfred Molina and Evan Rachel Wood. Judging by her 2 songs on the movie's soundtrack, Iduna will have a particularly hefty role, and according to Disney's press release, the Queen will begin to wonder if the answers she seeks can be found in her own past. The press release has less to say about Agnar, saying only that he'll do anything to protect his daughters from harm. But the casting of the Golden Globe and Emmy-nominated Molina makes it seem as though the King will have a significant part to play as well. Joining the impressive cast for Frozen 2, which includes nearly every major player and a few returning minor characters from the first movie, is This Is Us actor Sterling K. Brown, who will be voicing Lieutenant Destin Matthias. An Arendelle soldier who's been trapped in the Enchanted Forest for more than 30 years, Lieutenant Matthias has, according to Disney's press release, never forgotten his sworn duty to Arendelle. But the arrival of Queen Elsa and discovery that she has magical powers is just the first of many challenges to his long-held beliefs. Lieutenant Matthias originally traveled to the forest to fight against the nomadic Northuldra people, presumably the enemies of Arendelle. However, when we see him in the trailer, he and his men appear to be standing alongside the Northuldra, raising the question of whether the animosity between the two groups was some sort of misunderstanding, or whether the trailer is simply working to mislead us. A significant theme running through the first Frozen was about first impressions being unreliable, as evidenced with both Elsa and Hans, and we wouldn't be surprised if it carries through to the sequel in an even more prominent way. Frozen may have had a compelling plot, but the sequel will be broadening the scope of the series' storytelling quite a bit. Not only will Anna and Elsa be venturing far outside the borders of Arendelle, but they'll also be meeting new people who, at least at first glance, appear very different from them. Joining the cast of Frozen 2 are several members of the Northuldra people, including their leader, Yelena, the bold and brave Honeymaren, and the eager, fun-loving Ryder. According to Disney's press release, Yelena is fiercely protective of her family and community, but is known to soften when people show an understanding of nature and their environment. Meanwhile, Frozen 2's new pair of siblings, Honeymaren and Ryder, seem to have views that could put them at odds, with Honeymaren being a true free spirit who wants nothing more than to bring peace to the Enchanted Forest, while Ryder longs to embrace the world and venture beyond the magical mist. It'll be interesting to see how this brother and sister pair plays against Arendale's royal sisters, and whether they'll all be able to work together or wind up butting heads as only siblings can. While the original film introduced us to such non-human favorites as Olaf the Snowman, Sven the Reindeer, and a colony of trolls, Frozen 2 looks to significantly expand its roster of mystical, magical, and just plain adorable creatures. Nock the water spirit can be seen in the trailer as the watery horse that Elsa encounters in the ocean. Disney's press release states that Nock is a fierce warrior and guards the secrets of the forest fiercely, and that to get past it, a person must prove they are worthy and earn its respect, an almost impossible task. However, based on the brief shot of Elsa riding the water stallion in the trailer, it appears as though she manages to impress Nock somehow. Frozen 2 will also introduce us to Gale, a playful wind spirit who can seemingly be seen in the trailer tossing leaves and children up into the air. In addition, there are the massive stone earth giants who we see in the trailer towering over the treetops of the Enchanted Forest. We'll also meet Bruni, a salamander who lives in the Enchanted Forest who is fascinated by Elsa's powerful ice magic. After Elsa spent so much of the first movie in isolation, it'll be nice to see her make a tiny new friend in this one. And if Josh Gad's tweets and Bruni's adorable Japanese character poster are any indication, when we finally meet Bruni on screen, we fully expect to fall in love with the little guy ourselves. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about your favorite Disney movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.